Thank you very much, John. Um, Happy to be here today. Ted Bailey with STV, formerly with the Washington State Department of Transportation. So why focus on transcontinental corridors? First, let's start with a very intuitive look of corridors that span multiple states, north to south, east to west. Today, we have leaders from I-5, from I-80, from I-35, from I-95 that can talk and will talk specifically about near-term priorities and what they're doing on those corridors. From the perspective of the RDI strategy that John shared, there's multiple areas that we could focus locally, regionally, or again, transcontinental corridors to achieve that goal of a safer and more efficient transportation system nationwide. And so if you think about why focus on a corridor, well, you need to think about the number of players in the public sector that need to work and pull in the same direction. So when you focus on the interstates, it brings a lot of that focus to the state DOTs who are continually coordinating with local partners. Then when you start to bring in private sector partners who desire at-scale solutions to meet those business models, again, state DOTs in particular, working together along corridors provides for that scalability for those near-term pilots and things to build from. State DOTs are also very familiar with working together in transportation, pooled funds, various coalitions for many, many years. And so it's a very natural starting point to advance, both starting organically with the strategy that's been developed, to then how do we get core initiatives headed in the same direction, pooling those investments, and the interstate corridors provide the perfect opportunity for those near-term efforts. So the timing is right. If any of those people on the call today that have been participating in transportation for some time, and I suspect many of you, if not most of you, have, this is an unprecedented time within the US DOT as far as the multimodal leadership desiring to align strategic plans from research to investment to the way that funding is distributed, that focus is now. You have state DOTs that are looking at things like purchasing data or data exchanges and trying to make investments in a way where you have limited resources. And so now the desire to pool those resources together in various ways, from grant applications to the way that the priorities from different corridor coalitions are coming together, the state DOTs are excited to invest in a similar direction together. And then, as I previously stated, the private sector participation in committees, in working groups, whether it's at ITS America, whether it's the number of RDI workshops that have been held throughout the nation over the last couple of years. It's not just the private sector partners with products and services off to the side. They're rolling up their sleeves and they're at the table looking at policy and investment strategies, again, to create those public-private partnerships that can scale along a transcontinental corridor. And again, the idea of pulling in the same direction together. So as far as what are some of the outcomes, I'm alluded to some of this already. Looking for those consistent corridor-wide pain points. Where is there a common need throughout a transcontinental corridor? And then piloting those approaches, because some of the approaches and structures and way of just something as simple as installing broadband infrastructure along the interstate right-of-way. Every state does it a little different. So how do you pilot new ways of doing resource sharing and scaling those types of investments? And then just thinking about how do traditional interjurisdictional agreements, approaches typically work together, governance structures. How do you, again, combine the thought leadership from multiple parts of the industry, working literally hand in hand? Though evidence of that is already underway, and the transcontinental corridor outcomes are going to demonstrate the power of unity, the power of working together in a coordinated fashion. So I really want to get to the exciting panels and to hear from all the thought leaders today. But here's just a little bit of a preview of some of the things that folks will talk about as far as what are some of the near-term priorities that can be done the next 6 to 12 months that are either already underway or are definitely things that have been shared by the thought leaders that you'll hear from today that are already advancing, whether that's the work zone data exchange or looking at data standards for interoperability that'll feed into situational awareness, whether it's common linear referencing systems and the way that maps are done between private sector mapping companies and the state's rules and that, or harmonizing state traffic or traffic regulations between the states. There's lots of opportunities for near-term priorities. And without further ado, I'm excited to hand this off to Valerie. That'll bring us through some of the challenges that have been identified at the TRB workshop in January that'll feed into our first panel. So with that, Valerie.